My name is Kevin Best. I'm one of the new elders here at CCF, and I guess my deeper understanding of joy in the biblical sense started on May the 1st, 2009. The day before that, I went to work at my fire station like I had done for the previous 28 years, and everything was normal as far as I knew. And about 4 a.m. during my shift, 4 a.m. the next morning, which was May 1st, we made a fire call, and we got back to the station about 6, and I picked up my telephone just to look and see if anybody had called or texted, and I noticed that I had 3 messages from Joni, my wife. The messages each had an increasing sense of alarm because she was having a hard time breathing. And so immediately dialed her, and she didn't answer. About that time, Joni's mom called me and said that she had received a call from a doctor and that she had had a severe asthma attack during the night, the early morning hours, and that she had called 911 and actually stopped breathing while she was on the phone with them. So they came, they found her on the front porch. The kids never even knew that they were there. They took her to the hospital in Quitman, and that she was stable but unconscious. And it was really the beginning of a seismic change in all of our lives. We were all very hopeful, and we had faith. The reports weren't good, but all along I believed that God would heal her. And all along during that time when I was staying in the room with her, it was like I could hear the Lord asking me, "Do you trust me? Do you trust me?" And I would say, "Yes, Lord, I know that you can raise her up and restore her back to us." There's people all over the country and even around the world praying for her. About Thursday of the following week, things began to really turn bad, from bad to worse. And I realized that he was asking me if I trusted him for a different reason. And I resisted that thought with everything in me because I couldn't imagine losing her. I had been, asking her to stay and pull through and fight, and we'd make it. And I just felt that night like I should tell her that it's okay for her to go. And sometimes I still can't believe I said that, but she did. Within a couple of hours, any breathing that she was doing on her own stopped, and they did a brain scan, and her brain had died. And so she went home. So the next couple of months were really a blur. The visitation and the funeral were the easy part because there were so many people there that came and showed support, literally carried me and the family along for that period. But then real life came knocking again. People had to go back to work. People had to go back to school. Kids had to go back to school. And I was nowhere near ready for that. Just wasn't in a condition where I could even go back to work. And so God was working on my behalf there too. I had numerous firefighters that would go and work my shift. They just came and gave their time, which enabled me to be at home by myself and, embrace the pain and the grief and the hurt until I had drank it all down. So it was about that time that a friend of mine approached me and told me that his wife was a licensed Christian counselor and that she wanted to make her services available to me in case I wanted to talk to someone. And in fact, I was desperate to talk to someone outside of my immediate family and circle of friends because I wanted to be able to say what I was really feeling and thinking without it affecting them. And so her name was Melanie, and I began to meet with her once a week. And she let me relive everything that had happened right prior to Joni's death. She asked me lots of questions about, our lives together, and she pushed me to be really honest about my feelings, and I was. And I laid out all of my grievances. I told her that I felt like I was standing alone in a river and the rest of the world was just going past me, and I was stuck. I laid out all my grievances with God and how I felt like something had been stolen from me. She let me get all of that out, and then she started asking me questions like, did I think that God was surprised by Joni's death? And did I really believe what he said in Psalm 139, that he knew the number of her days before she had ever lived one? And one of the most important things she asked me was, did I really believe that she was alone on the front porch that morning? And it caused me to examine what I really believed about God. And she asked me to do something. She said, well, I want you to go home and think about the things that you're thankful for because you were married to Joni for the last 20 years. And that was a turning point for me because I realized all the people in my life because of her. And that she was in my life because God blessed me. And so that's when the weight of the sorrow began to lift and I could actually reconnect with the Lord. And there was a time when, my counselor asked me about maybe dating again, and I couldn't really imagine that. And so she began to ask me questions like, well, have you seen anybody that even piques your interest? And I would say, nope. Well, maybe there was this black-haired lady that works at the lumber yard that wasn't wearing a wedding ring. So time would go by and she would say, well, so have you talked to her? Have you stopped? And it was kind of scary to me because I haven't talked to a woman that way in 20 years. So one day the Lord gave me the courage to stop and introduce myself. And I asked her to have lunch with me, and she agreed. And her name is Joy. How ironic. And she definitely lives up to the name. And so we married, and she is an amazing mother to my kids and an incredible wife. Joy is many things to me now. It's a fullness in my soul that I can't explain. It's a woman who is unselfish and accepting, and a mother that she never got to be before. It's not being alone. It's memories of family that are both happy and sad. I think my best definition of joy, the joy that God gives, is that it's a knowing. It's a knowing that he can be trusted no matter what. Joy is a mix of sorrow and hope. Sorrow over loss in the world, but a hope that we're going to see our people again. Joy is knowing that this world is not my home, and that my Father is going to carry me all the way to the end, and that he's going to be there to take me home. That's joy to me.